For over 40 years, Weird Al Yankovic has made us laugh with his hilariously clever parodies, his signature curly hair, and his love for all things weird. But when he recently sat down for one of the most honest interviews of his career, what he revealed wasn't a scandal. It was something far more surprising. He confirmed what fans have quietly suspected for decades: that behind the accordion and the jokes is a serious artist, a perfectionist, who's been hiding in plain sight. He's not just here for laughs. He's here with purpose. And for the first time, he's letting the world in on how deep it really goes. From the outside, Weird Al always looked like the class clown of the music world. With his goofy expressions, wild Hawaiian shirts, and ridiculous song titles, it was easy to assume he was just making fun of everything. But underneath all the silliness was a razor-sharp creative mind. In his recent interview, Al finally peeled back the curtain, admitting that every lyric, every beat, every parody was carefully constructed. He wasn't just riffing on pop culture for a cheap laugh. He was crafting intricate musical mirrors that reflected back the absurdity of the world we live in. His fans may have laughed at Like a Surgeon or White and Nerdy, but they also sensed the deeper intelligence at work, the subtle critique, the attention to detail, the hidden admiration for the songs he spoofed. What many thought was improv comedy turned out to be a masterclass in satire. What truly set Weird Al apart wasn't just his ability to make people laugh. It was the respect he showed for the very artists he parodied. During his candid interview, Al revealed a long-held truth. He only spoofs songs he genuinely admires. That might surprise those who assumed his parodies were meant to mock, but in reality, they were more like affectionate tributes. From Smells Like Nirvana to Perform This Way, every track was crafted not to tear down, but to celebrate. He studied each song's structure, instrumentation, and production style with near-obsessive accuracy, often replicating the sound so precisely that listeners had to do a double take. It was never about ridicule. It was about honoring the power of music through humor. And as more artists began recognizing that, getting Weird Al-ified became a badge of honor, a signal that you'd made it big in pop culture. Behind the Hawaiian shirts and wacky personas is a perfectionist whose process is anything but silly. In the same interview, Al opened up about the painstaking effort behind every joke. Each lyric is refined over weeks, sometimes months, to ensure it lands just right. He studies not just the sound of a song, but its rhythm, tone, and emotional cadence. The result? Parodies that feel seamless, never forced. He explained that the hardest part of writing comedy is maintaining the illusion, making the parody feel like a natural extension of the original track. And that illusion, he said, only works when you respect the craft behind it. Weird Al isn't just riffing off pop hits. He's re-engineering them piece by piece to deliver comedy that feels effortless but is built with precision. That level of discipline is why even industry pros, producers, musicians, comedians speak of him with quiet reverence. While Weird Al's songs are packed with punchlines, what sets him apart is the deep respect he holds for the artists he parodies. Contrary to the idea that parody is inherently mocking, Al revealed that he only chooses to spoof songs he genuinely enjoys. His take on Madonna's Like a Virgin transformed into Like a Surgeon wasn't meant to tear her down. It was his playful tribute to a song he admired. That's why so many artists, from Nirvana to Chamillionaire, have not only approved of his work but considered it a badge of honor to be Weird Al-ified. In fact, Kurt Cobain once said that knowing Al parodied Smells Like Teen Spirit meant Nirvana had officially made it. This unique relationship with the industry, where his comedy is welcomed rather than feared, is rooted in the care he takes. He's not looking to roast. He's looking to reinterpret, to remix fame with affection. And in doing so, he's managed to win over even the most protective of pop stars. Despite decades in the spotlight, Weird Al Yankovic has remained something of an enigma. Behind the curly hair, oversized glasses, and brightly patterned shirts is a man who has deliberately kept his private life quiet. In recent interviews, Al finally shed some light on the personal choices that shaped his career, revealing a deep commitment to staying grounded and true to himself. He turned down countless opportunities to chase Hollywood fame, resisting the pull of celebrity culture in favor of creative control. Even as his fame soared, Al remained humble, famously polite, and fiercely protective of his artistic integrity. He doesn't curse. He avoids cruelty in his comedy. And he's never relied on controversy to stay relevant. Fans have long sensed that the weird in his name was never about shock, it was about honesty. He embraced what made him different, and in doing so, gave generations of misfits permission to do the same. As Weird Al's career enters its 5th decade, one thing has become unmistakably clear. His legacy is far bigger than just laughs. He didn't just parody songs. He changed how people view parody itself. What once seemed like novelty now reads like sharp, intentional social commentary. Through humor, Al dissected pop culture, challenged artistic norms, and, perhaps most impressively, did it all without ever compromising his values. While many comedians relied on vulgarity or controversy to stay in the spotlight, Al proved that intelligence, respect, and genuine creativity could stand the test of time. His influence has rippled across generations of artists and fans alike, many of whom now see him not just as a funny guy with an accordion, but as a pioneer, a craftsman, and a quiet rebel. His work reminds us that comedy can be clever, kind, and deeply meaningful, and that staying true to who you are may be the most powerful parody of all. In the end, what Weird Al Yankovic revealed wasn't a confession. It was a quiet validation of everything fans had always sensed. That the silliness was strategic. That the goofball persona masked a brilliant mind. That beneath the parodies was a performer who studied his craft with the intensity of any serious artist. And that being weird was never about being random. It was about being original, brave, and unafraid to stand out. This recent acknowledgement didn't shock the world. It resonated with it. Fans weren't surprised to learn Weird Al was intentional. They were relieved to hear it finally said out loud. Because in a world obsessed with image, trends, and trying to fit in, Al stood out by staying exactly who he was. For decades, he made millions laugh without punching down, stayed relevant without controversy, and remained kind in an industry that rewards ego. What we all suspected, that the funniest guy in the room was also one of the wisest. Now we know. And it makes his entire career, and his legacy, that much more meaningful. As Weird Al enters his 5th decade in entertainment, his influence can no longer be boxed into novelty or niche. He's not just the guy with the accordion and the parodies, he's a pioneer who reshaped the landscape of musical comedy. Younger generations of creators, from YouTube comedians to TikTok satirists, owe a debt to Al's model. Smart, clean, subversive fun that doesn't rely on cruelty or controversy to make a point. His legacy is one of originality, integrity, and intentional weirdness. In a time when fame is often fleeting and driven by shock value, Weird Al remains a beacon of staying true to yourself. His career is proof that you can be successful without selling out, that you can be hilarious without being harmful, and that you can be weird without apology. He didn't just parody songs, he rewrote the rules of what parody could be. He didn't just make us laugh, he made us think. And as more people reflect on his body of work, the world is finally recognizing the depth behind the comedy, the craftsmanship behind the jokes, and the courage it takes to be completely, authentically yourself in a world that's always trying to make you something else. Weird Al Yankovic didn't just entertain us. He inspired us. And now, with his most revealing words yet, he's shown us the one thing we always hoped was true. Being weird is a gift, and owning it can change everything. In an industry dominated by reinvention and reinvention again, Weird Al Yankovic did something far more radical. He stayed the same. Not stale, not stagnant, but consistent in his values, his humor, and his mission. He built a career without stepping on anyone else's, chose kindness over controversy, and created laughter not at the expense of others, but through the sheer brilliance of observation and wit. And maybe that's what sets him apart, not just as a performer but as a person. Weird Al represents a rare kind of artistic integrity, one that doesn't chase trends, doesn't bend to pressure, and never loses sight of the joy in the craft. In a time when authenticity is often marketed but rarely lived, he quietly lived it. His story reminds us that success doesn't have to be loud, edgy, or fueled by conflict. It can be weird. It can be gentle. It can even be silly. But above all, it can be honest. So if there's one final takeaway from all the years of laughter, lyrics, and accordion riffs, it's this: Weird Al didn't just parody the culture, he elevated it. And in doing so, he proved that being different isn't a disadvantage. It's the entire point. As Weird Al steps further into the legacy phase of his career, one thing becomes clear. He didn't just leave a mark on pop culture, he carved a permanent space within it. His influence stretches beyond comedy and music. You can see echoes of his approach in the way today's content creators blend satire with sincerity, and how parody is used to challenge norms rather than simply mock them. He opened the door for generations of artists to embrace their quirks without shame. From YouTubers who remix trending songs with absurd lyrics, to late-night comedians who balance humor with sharp cultural critique, Al did it first and he did it with heart. But perhaps the most powerful part of his legacy isn't what he created, it's how he made people feel. Weird Al made millions laugh without ever making them feel small. He gave outsiders a hero, fans a reason to smile during hard times, and fellow musicians a reason to admire the craft behind the comedy. As new fans discover his work and older ones continue to cherish it, Weird Al's story proves one lasting truth. When you build a career on authenticity, kindness, and creativity, your impact never fades. It multiplies. And in Al's case, it continues to echo loudly, joyfully, and of course weirdly. In a world that's increasingly polarized, performative, and dominated by viral outrage, Weird Al Yankovic stands as a rare constant. A reminder that entertainment can be smart without being cynical, hilarious without being harmful, and deeply impactful without taking itself too seriously. His career is a blueprint for longevity in an industry that often favors reinvention over consistency. Weird Al didn't need to change who he was to stay relevant. He simply kept sharpening his craft. Whether parodying the latest chart topper or performing orchestral-backed renditions of his classics, he's always met the moment without losing himself. More importantly, Al's continued relevance is rooted in how he treats his audience, with respect. He never talks down to them, never exploits controversy, and never sacrifices authenticity for attention. In return, his fans haven't just followed him, they've trusted him. That's why, even after 4 decades, Weird Al isn't just a nostalgic figure. He's a cultural compass, a quiet reminder that in an era of algorithms and outrage, staying true to your voice, and doing it with kindness, is the most radical act of all.